Hey, it is Monday, and you know what that means. It means I get to hang out with you, which I'm always grateful for and very excited about. It is cold and windy and kind of nasty here in Idaho. I just got back from my trip in Vegas and hanging out with my sister. It was so fun to do the Facebook Live with her last week. And thank you for being part of that adventure and being so gracious and supportive and just a part of her process and stretching out of her comfort zone, which for me was great, great fun. So today I want to talk about a really important subject, one that I've sat with a lot, meditated about a lot, and read about a lot, and that is the quality of fear. You know, Rumi has this wonderful quote, and I'm going to get this right. I'm going to read it verbatim here from my notes. So, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within you that you have built against it. And the greatest barrier that we have to love is fear. And fear can show up in a lot of forms, a lot of different fashions, and that can look like anger or judgment or hate, upset, anxiety, stress, guilt, shame. So fear can take on a lot of different disguises, if you will. But I like something my husband says about fear. Fear is not the enemy, but information. And just like a yellow blinking light, it can mean slow down or pay attention or proceed with caution. So that's been a helpful bit of wisdom from my husband that I have used in my life. And it's been a way of supporting me and relaxing and not letting fear paralyze me. Fear can paralyze us and it can propel us. It can be the enemy, but it can also be our teacher. And my sense of this human experience is that we are all on the journey of the hero, which means transforming or transitioning from a life based on fear to a life based on love. And while certainly fear is absolutely part and parcel of this reality, it is. We have to accept that, or we benefit if we can accept it. But how do we want to deal with our fear? And when we feel fear, how can we use it as our teacher and to our advantage? I came up with this process a little while ago that I thought was pretty helpful. It's a series of questions, and I would love to give this to you if you want to sit with your own personal fear and experience of fear and maybe dissolve it so that you can live a life of more peace and comfort and love. So it's a series of questions, and some of these questions are, what am I afraid of? What is it that I'm afraid of? And for me, when I did this years ago, I had a lot of fear about creating my art. It was like I was afraid of getting started with this creative process. And I sat with it. And it's like, what is it I'm afraid of? Well, I thought I was going to create something ugly. Okay. And then what? Well, then people would judge me. And then what? People won't love me. And then what? I'll be alone. And then what? I'll cry. The more I asked, and then what, the sillier things became. So I asked that question until there was nothing else left, or it was just, the fear was dissolved. And then I went beneath that and asked, what is it my soul wants me to know? How can I honor myself in this process? What is an affirmation I can create? And what is a courageous action step I can take on my behalf? You know, courage isn't the absence of fear. It is feeling the fear and doing something anyway. And as we shift our fear, as we dissolve our fear, hi, Kathy, how are you? My teachers explained it like this, and I love it. As fear is a lower emotion, as we take courageous action steps, as we transcend and transition and move up the line of fear to love, it has less hold on us. We become more free. We dissolve the barriers between us and love. And as we relax more into our loving, we feel more peaceful. We invite more support. We're not at odds within ourselves. It's really how we open the door to receiving grace in our lives, to receiving more support and synchronicity. Hey, Deidre, it has been a long time. How are you, sweet thing? Oh, perfect timing. Yay, Kathy. I love that. You're always perfect in my reality. So yes, we had talked about this a little last week. My sister had a little bit of fear about participating in this. And Kathy brought up some issues around fear in her own reality. It's like, I'm afraid I'm going to be judged. Okay, and then what? Well, that would be uncomfortable. And then what? People won't like me. And then what? Keep asking yourself those questions. My teachers years ago would say, the purpose of our lives is to learn to love ourselves no matter what. What I know for sure is God loves us unconditionally, completely, all the time. Can we accept that? Can we embrace that? Can we let God love us all the time? Can we love ourselves all the time? As we do, we suffer a lot less. And as we do this, yes, I think that's really a great quote. Fear keeps us from our true calling. It can keep us stuck. It can keep us paralyzed. It can keep us from moving forward. If I would have allowed fear to keep me paralyzed, I wouldn't be living this life of incredible joy and creativity and prosperity. I would have stayed stuck. And so we can allow this fear to keep us playing small, or we can feel the fear and do it anyway. Conquer your fear. Yes, the opportunity to overcome self-imposed limitations. And that really is what fear is. It's what we do to and for and within ourselves. And perhaps we experience things when we were younger, and now those fears have maybe, those seeds of fear have taken root and grown into these, massive redwood trees of fear. But if we have the intention to know ourselves deeply, to know ourselves as spiritual beings having a human experience, the truest truth of who we are is love, is compassion, is joy, is bliss. We've talked about this often. We live on a planet of duality: fear, love, right, wrong, good, bad, black, white. But above this reality of duality is the reality of unity. And that reality embodies the qualities of peace, compassion, bliss, comfort, celebration, and immense love. And so if we choose to say yes to our own personal journey of the hero, if we choose to say yes to our healing and living a life of love, as we choose to take courageous action steps on our behalf and rise higher in our personal vibration, we have the opportunity to clear our fear, to step out of our comfort zone in courage. And what we're usually met with is a lot of support. Although years ago, I had meditated and I asked God, what would you have me do? And he said, you will sing my praises. And I took this literally. So I started taking some singing lessons. And then I took a big courageous action step on my behalf and actually sang in front of a group of people when I was at this retreat. And you know what? It wasn't good. I didn't understand that God wasn't being literal with me. I am singing his praises now. But I did take it literally and I did sing, and it wasn't good. And you know what? I was judged. They were whispering and pointing, and I wasn't met with a lot of love. But as I sat with it, and as I did an exercise like what I'm willing to share with you, my exercise from fear to love, even though people judged me, God didn't. And my job was to learn to not judge myself. And now I can look back and I can be proud of that little girl that went up there with that microphone and sang her little heart out in a way that wasn't really necessarily beautiful by human standards. It was beautiful by God's standards. And I have great compassion for myself, and I'm proud of myself. And today I do sing God's praises in my own unique way, in my own voice. And sometimes we have to go to the buffet and try a few things to refine our choices. And so, yes, I do believe when we take courageous action steps on our behalf, we are supported, and there might be some refining and course correcting that needs to happen. But again, if we can love ourselves and accept ourselves and know that we are worthy and lovable despite what any other human beings think, that makes the space for God to really love on us. And this is when we can start to propel. This is when we can start to be lifted and start to ascend and start to be carried on the wave that is our wave. My sense is that we all have our own current. Like we're all on our own river, on our own current, and all these currents are leading to the ocean. The most important thing we can do is find our river, find our current, find our rhythm, find our peace and comfort and joy within, and allow that current to carry us where the current wants to carry us. One of the most powerful prayers we can say is, "Thy will be done." And to me, it's a combination. It's a balance and blend of wanting God to be the pilot and I'm the co-pilot, he's the driver and I'm the passenger, but to also really participate in this experience. It's not being lackadaisical and say, "You drive, I'm just going to sit here and be a slug." It's you drive, I'm going to set my intentions, and then I'm going to hold them lightly in my hand, and I'm going to allow you to inform me as I learn to love myself more completely and unconditionally, and allow you to love me more completely and unconditionally. And this to me is certainly the way that we invite and experience more synchronicity, grace, ease, miracles, and heaven on earth in our own lives. So, Deidre, you're at work? I didn't know you were working. I thought you were a lady of leisure. I'm joking. I know that that's not true. You're a mother and you're a wife, and I bet you're helping with your husband's business, and I want to know more about that. So let's talk when you do have some time. So me too, Kathy. I love it when our currents come together and we can celebrate with each other. And yes, we need to participate. There was this experience I had years ago at a mandala retreat. It was so fun. You know how Tonda and we were talking last week. My whole thing was I wanted to be seen in the world. I had a fear of being invisible. And when I got beneath that fear, if I'm invisible, it means I don't exist. And what does that mean? It means, well, I'm nothing. I'm no thing. And then actually that led me to something really beautiful. I am no thing. I'm not a thing. I'm an expression of love. So again, I have this exercise that I want to share with you. It's about 12 questions. And if you go through it and answer it, it can help you dissolve your fears. It can help you identify your fears, dissolve your fears so that you can line up more with your true purpose, your authentic nature, and an empowered way of being. So years ago, I was at a mandala retreat, and there were about 30 of us. And we were all just kind of dancing. There was some music going on, and we'd just done this nice surrender ceremony where we were writing down on paper what we were willing to surrender in our lives and then burn them. And so we were celebrating and dancing. We all picked up scarves, and we were kind of just swirling them around. And then we ended up coming into a circle. And one at a time, this all happened spontaneously. Each person came to the center of the circle and then went back to the periphery. And one at a time, each person got to be celebrated. And then they would go back and celebrate another. And I think that's how life should be. And Kathy, you inspired me to share this. It's when our currents come together. It's about celebrating another and allowing ourselves to be celebrated, about giving and receiving from that place of love and respect and appreciation, where fear keeps us divided. It keeps the walls up between heart connection, which to me is the root of our pain, which is the root of our suffering, which is the root of dis-ease quite often, I think. Building those blocks and barriers between us and our truest nature, again, which is love, peace, bliss, compassion, connection, and profound love. So if you would like, I would love to gift you this exercise about dissolving the barriers of fear and manifesting love, my fear to love exercise. And if it's something that you want, just let me know on the thread or private message me with your email address, and I will send it right over to you. And the first portion is an example of how I walked through the process, my answers, and then it's just the questions for you to answer in your own personal way so that you can make this journey from fear to love for yourself. So what I've come to in my personal experience in regards to fear, as we can do this exercise that I'm sharing with you, and as we can sit with our fear and just let it come up. for observation, not in resistance, not fighting it, just allowing it to come up in layers, it can start to dissolve, and these layers can start to be peeled back. And what I've gotten to at the very core of what our fear is, what comes up for me, and I'd be interested if you do this exercise, what comes up for you. It comes down to questioning our value and worthiness. It comes down to feeling or believing we are unloved or unlovable. And the truest truth with a capital T is that we are loved, that we are lovable. And if we can know that and feel that from our Creator, if we can be in touch with our own heart and say with a resounding, yes, I am loved and I am lovable, again, we suffer a lot less. And that current can start to carry us, and that wind can be at our back. And this is when life can be a celebration. And just like fear has many faces, as I mentioned, hurt, anger, shame, hate, all of those very uncomfortable emotions, so does love. And these are the beautiful experiences and emotions and feelings of, again, compassion, peace, bliss, joy, and kindness. And to me, residing in these emotions and consistently being in this feeling state is heaven on earth. It is living a life aligned with our Creator and in our loving with ourselves and with others. And so, again, I would love to share with you this exercise about transitioning from fear to love if you would like to receive it. And I'd be very interested in knowing your own personal experiences of this and thoughts about it. Again, I think this is the most important thing we can say yes to, is healing our fear and living a life of love. And I hope that you sense that I appreciate and adore you. I so love connecting with you on Mondays and hearing from you and being in conversation and communication with you about whatever's on your mind and in your heart. Because to me, relatedness, relationship is the most important thing in the world. The truest truth is we are not alone. We are all one. And the more we know this and feel this, the more we can reside in our loving and our connection with ourselves, with our Creator and one another, the more we can celebrate our own unique experiences and expression of the divine that we are. And I think that's why God put this whole thing in motion in the first place. You know, to be able to have this experience of you being you and me being me, and God getting to express Himself through all these infinite forms and fashions, and being able to laugh and play and dance and create together. You know, my husband did last week, the week before, I talked about doing a gestalt. And what I didn't mention is when you do a gestalt, the empty chair process, you can actually have conversations with your higher self or your guardian angel or people that have transitioned or even God. And when I first met Steve, I told him about a gestalt, and he did this gestalt with God, which I thought was very courageous of him. And he said something that was so profound. I think about this a lot. He goes, God, this earth is full of so much hurt and anguish and fear. Why would you set this up where people suffer so intensely? And then he got in the chair and responded from that consciousness. And it said, you cannot feel anything that I have not felt. You could not feel alone and pain and hurt if I did not know how that felt. And that's actually why I created humans, so that I could have someone to dance and play and create with. And that just brought tears to my eyes in a way that it was an aha moment. It was an epiphany. And I realized in that moment, I want to do my best to honor and glorify God. And we do that through loving ourselves, loving in each other, and celebrating and playing in a way that is joyful. And I want my life to be a testament to that. And I hope that you are saying yes to that experience of joy and celebrating yourself and living a life of great love as well. So I invite you again to be in touch. Please let me know how you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you're doing. Let me know if you want this exercise. And just know that you're in my heart, my meditation, and my prayers. And I adore and appreciate you immensely. I love our Manifesting Monday moments together, and I look forward to our continued dialogue. So take good, gentle care of yourself. God bless you, and let's connect again very, very soon. God bless you. Onward and upward. Bye for now.